Today I'm going to address an area of technology that is still going predominantly overlooked by the majority of people, and that is device radiation. Whether you just own a cell phone and a laptop at home, or you have electronics in every corner of each room, including your smart meter and emergency power generators, you absolutely need to become aware of EMF radiation, or electromagnetic frequency radiation, because it's far more unhealthy and dangerous than we think. So in this talk, I'm going to explain this and also mention a tip on how to keep your data more secure at the same time. So let's start off with Faraday bags. This is the primary solution to most of our device radiation problems. Faraday bags are excellent at shielding us from harmful radiation that our devices emit. They're even strong enough to block an EMP attack. Not the entire attack, of course, but individually each device can protect itself. An EMP attack, in most contexts, this refers to those invisible military or terrorist bombs that obliterate power grids in entire cities, and they tend to stretch beyond just one city. They can damage an entire state in multiple cities. So that sometimes happens. And this is actually a threat that has been looming for a while, that the governments of all the worlds have been preparing for, because every government has a plan to shut down another country's water supply or power supply. Now, the next reason is data privacy. If you don't want anyone tracking you, you can just slip your phone in a Faraday bag and it will disappear from cell phone tower pings and everything else. And most people don't realize just how much they need this kind of protection. Many people use Faraday bags for this reason. They want to stay private, and not only from location tracking, but also from all the hackers, possible hackers and companies following the digital print that their devices leave behind when they use their apps and surf the internet. Because most cell phone apps are constantly tracking our behavior 24 hours a day. So companies know exactly where we sleep and even when we sleep, because most people sleep with their phone right next to them on the bed or beside, on their bedside table, I mean. You've probably noticed that as soon as you pick up your phone in the morning, it gives a quick vibration pulse and beeps with notifications. That's definitely no coincidence, because it happens almost every time you've taken a break from your phone. It's designed to recognize when it's being picked up or when a screen is getting touched, so it can give you the most notifications in the morning or sometime when after you've been away. So these companies track all of our activity, where we shop and how we behave, and then that data gets sold to competitors, and that's how we receive all this specially targeted marketing that matches our taste and interests. And they make enormous amounts of money off of us from this, and we never see a cent. So it's a good idea to keep your phone and most of your other electronics, for that matter, in Faraday bags when you're not using them. But beyond privacy, this EMF radiation is a serious and legitimate health concern. You really don't want electronic devices like phones and tablets and laptops near you all the time, especially when you're sleeping or driving. Many tests have been done to demonstrate just how much radiation different devices emit, and it clearly shows us that our cell phones should not actually be kept in our pockets, and our laptops should not literally sit on our laps. It's already been proven many years ago that keeping these devices near our groin lowers our sperm count and damages the sexual organs. And anywhere it's near you, it's promoting tumor growth, because they cause cancer, right? So if you like to use your laptop on your lap like that, you should at least keep a Faraday blanket underneath. They have those too. I've personally felt many instances where my upper thigh would sting and itch right in the area my cell phone sits. and it seemed mysterious at first. I thought it was maybe some pulled hairs, but it never happens on the other pocket. So your desktop computer as well, this doesn't really need a Faraday bag, but it should at least be kept, half a meter away from you or so, away from anywhere in your body. Now you can buy Faraday bags of all sizes from darkbags.com. That's a very good store. They even have sizes that will fit personal power generators, as well as Faraday blankets, as I mentioned, for wearing on planes. And this is very important because planes are like EMF pools. There's radiation from the radio. There's radiation from everyone's cell phone trying to find reception. There's radiation from the Wi-Fi. So wearing a Faraday blanket is like wearing those lead aprons at the dentist. It will significantly protect your vital organs when you need to fly for hours on end. And using a cell phone with an earpiece, either on the phone, especially on a plane, or just by itself, is very damaging too, because the receiver is right next to your ear and beside your brain. All of these EMF risks are supported by over 60 studies showing that cancer is appearing in younger generations because of this exposure. So it's really much more detrimental than we think to let ourselves sleep with our phones right beside us or under our pillow at night. Now, similar to planes, one of the worst places you can use a phone is actually your car, believe it or not, because according to studies, cars actually conduct enormous amounts of radiation, since they're mostly made of metal, and because they're constantly transmitting their signal from tower to tower as you drive. So they're accumulating radiation as you drive. So the recommendation is to just not use any electronics when you're driving unless you really don't know where you're going and you have to use Google Maps or something, because the radiation is about 10 times stronger when you're driving. So, and by not using, that means Faraday bags, because these are constantly transmitting EMF, or emitting EMF rather. So by considering this information, you're preventing yourself from a lot of diseases that EMF is capable of inducing, including cancer. So most people have no idea how much radiation is out there. So we really need to become aware and do a better job at protecting ourselves. And you can test these bags yourself. The moment a smartphone goes into one, the tracking stops completely. This is a big deal because Apple has a low battery mode that allows an iPhone to be tracked for up to 72 hours, even if it's off or in airplane mode. And some people say that their headaches have gone away and they don't feel exhausted in the morning ever since they started sleeping with their phones in these bags. So because of EMFs, there are many people, typically military and government personnel, who actually use satellite phones, not just at work, but they are using satellite phones for personal use, for talking. So it sounds kind of silly. We're living in the 20s all over again, and yet the radiation is a real threat. So with these satellite phones, the radiation is much weaker because they have extendable antennas. The placement is better. So even though the radiation is directed above the skull, it's much better than receiving it from your cell phone, because your cell phone is right next to you and it's receiving it at the bottom of the phone where you speak, that microphone that picks up your voice. So it's right next to your mouth and throat when you're using a cell phone. And that's why about 90% of that radiation is absorbing into your thyroid area. And unfortunately, this is a major reason why doctors have been seeing a massive rise in thyroid cancer over the decade or so. The amount of cases is almost untrackable. And the problem with thyroid cancer is that it often doesn't show any symptoms for up to 10 years until it spreads to the lymph nodes And then by then, it's often too late. And what to make matters worse, since a thing to note is that 5G has only been around for about 5 years. And adults have only been exposed for a short time, but children are being exposed from day one. And what we're finding is that their heads are absorbing it much more than we do, way more than the limit. An adult can absorb maybe a couple, whatever units they use to measure it, but a baby is absorbing, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 times as much of that. We're not a baby, but a young kid or a child. And unfortunately, there isn't even enough research yet to know what the long-term consequences will be for them. But we have to be careful, because we're already seeing what's happening right now. So even though it's not the 90s anymore, the truth is that for people who talk on the phone a lot, they should all use a separate satellite phone for that. So intelligence officers love them because they work anywhere, and they're incredibly difficult to track. They're very private, more private than a flip phone. That's why they use them. It's very secure. And to note, cell phone reception only covers about 15% of the world, so there are many places that don't have reception. But satellite phones will work absolutely anywhere on the planet, even in the middle of the ocean, because the source is the satellite in space. You can actually get Faraday bags so big that they can fit a person, and these are useful for larger power generators, emergency generators. But at home, your phones, your computers, even your modems, and your smart meters should all be covered. And about smart meters, the location of your meter is very important. There are studies that show that bugs and plants don't go near them, and the plants don't grow because the radiation is so strong. And in fact, the safe distance is actually about 30 meters. So that means everyone living in a small condo, all those people living in small condos and studios and apartments, need to cover it up. And now about cell phones again, women have another place they like to keep their phones sometimes, which is in their bra or a jogging case near their chest. There are cases of very active and healthy people with no history of cancer developing, no family history, and yet it's developing exactly where they store their phones. So most people have no clue that this is happening, but at least some public figures like Robert Kennedy are talking about EFM risks and raising this awareness. Now in the description, I've left some links on where you can get some of these supplies. I mentioned the Faraday bags at darkbags.com. And you can also get satellite phones in another link and power generators in another.